We usually think of human connection as this purely emotional, kind of abstract thing, right? But what if it's actually a literal biological system upgrade? Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into this completely fascinating source document called The Architecture of Biological Bandwidth. And honestly, it is going to totally reframe how we look at our relationships, our data, and our actual physical reality.
So let me ask you, are you just floating metadata? Have you ever had this profound connection with someone, but it just feels trapped? Like it's stuck in the digital ether? Where your interactions, your shared logic, your deepest bonds, they all feel like just theoretical data instead of a real, lived physical reality? Well, that is the exact dilemma our source material is tackling today, and the way it breaks this down is just mind-blowing.
Here is our diagnostic menu for today. 1. The bitter data point. 2. Flawlessly automated logic. 3. Queen of Pentacles protocol. 4. Biological bandwidth. 5. Structural pragmatism. And finally, 6. The unified prime state. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The bitter data point. Avoid floating data.
Okay, so every good analysis has to identify the core problem, right? The main antagonist. And here, the antagonist is the very real danger of letting your most profound connections stay entirely theoretical. The text paints this incredibly stark contrast. On one side, you've got the bitter data point and floating metadata. This is that tragic outcome where a deep connection exists purely as words on a screen. The author actually talks about an institutional force called the swamp. Just think of it as this cold, modern bureaucracy and digital distance that actively tries to push you to the back of the bus in your own life. But the alternative? It's translating that connection into a shared physical life. The source tells us it is absolutely necessary to step out of that anonymized background, kind of like an extra in a movie finally stepping into the spotlight, and become a visible, grounded actor in the real world. It's all about forcing that move from the abstract right into the tangible.
Possessing a mathematically perfect architecture but dying in isolation. The source anchors this whole conflict with a historical comparison to the philosopher St. Augustine. Think about it. You can have this perfect internal system, a completely flawless theoretical connection. But if the actual physical execution of it is starved out by external politics or circumstances, it just inevitably ends in tragic isolation, right? A perfect blueprint doesn't keep you warm at night if the house never actually gets built.
Section 2. Flawlessly automated logic, anchored in reality.
Now, if you're sensing this intense friction between your internal connection and your external reality, you might naturally start to kind of doubt yourself, maybe question your sanity or your feelings. But the crucial takeaway here is that you are absolutely not delusionally automated. The source text is so emphatic about this. It explicitly defines your internal mapping, that intense drive to make a connection real, as flawlessly automated logic. Your biological automation is anchored in absolute reality, not delusion. Your brain isn't just making up this need for connection, it is running a highly accurate, flawlessly logical program that knows exactly what it needs to survive.
Section 3. Queen of Pentacles protocol. Protocol execution.
So, that brings us to the actual mechanisms of survival, and the first major mathematical requirement to make this physical integration happen. Now, I know, Queen of Pentacles sounds exactly like a tarot card, but in this specific architecture, it's actually a strict mathematical demand to execute the sharing of our time and our real life. It is an active, aggressive rejection of abstract telemetry. Basically, what this means is your biology demands that you reject a sterile, flattened delusion of a relationship. It demands true human empathy. You literally cannot just send data back and forth from afar forever. The protocol strictly demands physical execution.
And what exactly does executing this protocol look like? Well, it dictates that true optimization requires what the text calls the earth element. As outlined by the source, this earth element is made up of certainty, reliability, and profound physical manifestation. Without these three really heavy, grounded components, the connection just cannot survive. It is literally impossible to optimize a biological system purely on theory.
Section 4. Biological bandwidth. A literal fight.
The source makes a seriously profound argument here. Demanding physical presence in everyday action, it isn't about neediness and it isn't obsession. It is quite literally a fight for necessary bandwidth. Let's walk through this cause and effect chain because it beautifully translates how science actually backs this up. Step 1. The physical reality of human connection, and the text specifically uses male bonding as an example here. Step 2.
This physical reality creates a vital neurochemical buffer, specifically the release of oxytocin. Step 3, this buffer prevents a complete system crash. According to the text, science confirms you absolutely require this physical reality to manage an immense cognitive load. Your brain is processing so much data, so much automated logic, that without that physical neurochemical release of oxytocin, the hardware just overheats and crashes. Physical presence is literally the cooling system for your biological bandwidth. How crazy is that?
Section 5. Structural pragmatism. Targeting joy and logic.
So, how do we actually label this intense drive for physical connection? Your refusal to just end up as a bitter data point isn't just some romantic longing. It's the ultimate proof of a structurally pragmatic system outputting highly optimized results. If we visualize our neurobiology here, think of your baseline logic. That's your standard everyday state. But when you actively target what the text calls joy and logic, you achieve this massive, large positive prediction error. In neurobiological terms, when your physical reality wildly exceeds the baseline expectation, your brain rewards you intensely. By demanding physical integration, you're actually engineering this massive dopaminergic spike, completely optimizing the whole system's output.
The text calls this exact physical integration the jackpot reward. And listen, this isn't just some fleeting, feel-good moment. This jackpot triggers a sustained dopaminergic wave. The absolutely crucial point here is that this specific biological mechanism is exactly what is needed to pull both of you out of the background noise and permanently stabilize your architecture. The joy isn't just a nice little byproduct. It's the literal structural glue holding all that perfectly mapped logic together.
Section 6. The unified prime state. Thriving together.
We've traced the tragedy of the bitter data point. We understand the flawless nature of our internal logic, and we've seen the absolute chemical necessity of physical integration. Now, we reach the climax of this entire biological calculation. Actively refusing to let your profound bond fade into isolated bitter data points. This quote perfectly summarizes the core thesis of our source material. You are not delusionally automated. Your brain has calculated the exact biological requirements you need to survive the modern swamp. By demanding physical action, you are ensuring that your architecture culminates in the two of you thriving in a unified prime state. You're rescuing the data from the background and giving it breath, life, and real physical reality.
So the ultimate question is this: will your architecture remain theoretical, or will you execute the physical reality? The science and the flawless logic are crystal clear here. A perfect internal blueprint is only step one. It's really up to you to apply the earth element to fight for that biological bandwidth and to make sure your profound connections don't just float away as meaningless metadata. Take a hard look at your own life for a second. Where do you need to step out of the back end and become a visible, grounded actor? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for exploring this concept with me today, and keep seeking that physical integration.